Okay.
Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you. And welcome to Think Differently by Design. This is a tour for hosts like and Sharon and I, and also with our guest today. We can't wait to introduce you to her. So, my co partner here, Sharon Weinstein, and I are co authors of the book Think Differently 18 Strategies to Fix Broken Thinking. We invite you to engage with us and your peers as we address issues related to nursing, nurses, and the workforce. In our studies of those in leadership positions, we have found that success happens when we are asking the right question and solving the right problem. Our
Mm.
respective healthcare writing careers make us uniquely qualified for this role as facilitators. We invite you to be a part of this future program by participating in 30-minute discussions using this LinkedIn Live platform. We conduct these every Tuesday and Thursday through the first quarter of the year, and they have been absolutely phenomenal. Our goal is to provide nurse leaders with an opportunity to be heard, express their opinions, share their ideas, and above all, tell their stories. Before we start, we want to acknowledge you. And we want to thank you for joining us today. And it's really important that you engage with us, be a part of the comments. Let us know where you're from. Let us know what you're thinking and what you're feeling as you listen to Sharon tell her story. So we have viewers all over the globe. So please use that chat. And we can't wait to get this thing started. So, Sharon, why don't you go ahead and introduce our other Sharon?
Happy to do so. It's a pleasure. Today we welcome Sharon Herbert, who came to us through the listening tour when she repeatedly commented on one of our sessions and declared us her favorite. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sharon is a registered nurse, a life coach, and a motivational presenter at Power in Nursing. She speaks to workplace stress and loves helping nurses to find their power and live their best lives. Her mission is to celebrate, motivate, and empower nurses to be the best version of themselves. Learning to know and love yourself is the key to opening the door to discovering your power. And before we begin, and before I officially welcome you, Sharon, for those of you listening, please put in the chat. Please let us know what is your greatest source of stress? What stresses you most? Sharon Herbert, over to you. Please.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Sharon and Dina, for inviting me to speak on my favorite subject, nursing. Well, I have been a registered nurse for a great number of, I'll just say decades. If people ask me, I just tell them, oh, about 100 years. So you figure it out. You figure it out. It's been a good long time. And very shortly, I will just tell you, I've wanted to be a nurse since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
When my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Brown, asked the class what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I still ask people that same question. What do you want to be when you grow up? And that seed was planted from there. No one in my family was a nurse, but that sounded really good to me. My mom actually had two friends that were nurses. And this is going to be a little funny, but this is really true. They wore the beautiful white starched uniforms, starched caps, white hose, and shiny white shoes. And in addition, they had houses and they had cars. I
Wow.
thought, wow, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
I think I'll do that. And as we went along, even in school, I love reading and writing. And so it was perfect for me to continue to seek what was going on in the world of nursing. I even applied to be a candy striper when I was 16 because I still found it very intriguing and something that women could do. And like I said, and get a house and a car. You could do a lot with that money. And so, actually, I didn't get to be a candy striper, but it inspired me to continue on my academic progress. And in the next year, at 17, I graduated early from high school because I took enough credits so that I could go to college. I was the very first one in my family that I know of that had gone to try to enter college. And I made it into the college of my choice in a 4-year Bachelor of Science nursing program, which I graduated with honors. That was
Of course you did. Of course you did. I'm going to interrupt you for a moment
no big deal.
because you're decades ahead of me. I went to a 3-year diploma program because it's what I had a scholarship for. I too was the first one in my family to pursue some sort of additional education beyond high school. And I do have the other degrees, but I had to go at them the long way after
Yeah.
having kids and doing them part-time. You are passionate, Sharon.
Yes.
You are so passionate about nursing.
Mhm.
What clearly, if you could sum it up for us in a couple of sentences, what does nursing mean to you?
Nursing means to me really a huge sacrifice. It is what one must decide to do and continue to work to get more information, as I call it, 3 E's: education, experience, and expertise. And those are 3 steps in the rung to your planned practice, whichever it is you decide and desire to do. And you have to feel it in your heart. You can't be a nurse because your grandmother was one or your neighbor was one. You have to decide. And it is hard work. I'm just really going to say, and I know I've said the word sacrifice, but you have to stay up day and night. Your clinical work comes after your class that you stayed in for 4 hours and your head is spinning, and now you go to clinical, or vice versa. You go to clinical every day, Tuesday and Thursday, whatever it is, 8 a.m. My roommate was asleep because I had to get up. I had to make sure I had my homework, my uniform ready to go, and see if we could get to the cafeteria to get a pancake or some juice. If you were 5 minutes late, you couldn't be because you had to get the bus to clinical, or you had to get to class. Folks today still tell me they might not even have known me. They're like, yeah, you're that lady, that girl who was walking so fast to get down to the nursing building, the very last building on the campus, of course. I was working like this, and I had to be there on time. That's a sacrifice, but you need to know this, but it is well worth it.
It is well worth it.
Rewards.
Yeah, I went to school from 6:30 in the morning until 1:30 or so in the afternoon. We had clinicals.
Yes.
And then we went to class from 1:30 or so until 6.
Yes.
But we didn't have to take a bus. It was on the same campus across the street. Not a big deal. Through the courtyard. You walk to the other end of the courtyard and you're in the dorm. It was self-contained in the middle of Philadelphia. But still, 6:30 in the morning, you were like ready to go to work.
Right.
Yeah.
No excuses made.
No.
So now, Carol in Houston says she's a regular viewer.
Yes.
Please expand on the word sacrifice. You just did, and you did it so well.
Yeah.
Dina, I think you have a question for Sharon as well, don't you?
I do. It seems that today's nurses are both overworked and kind of overwhelmed.
Yes.
And I know you talked about the sacrifice, when you're going through school, and I'd love to just find out a little bit more. What do you think they need from us to be able to help them to overcome this overwhelm, overworked, overstressed?
Well, one thing that I do think about nurses, and I'll just back it up just a little bit, or it might be a little forward thinking, is that we are taught in school, in whatever nursing program you are in, about solving problems. So I challenge some of my customers to think about that. You have solutions. Either you're keeping them quiet or you aren't a sharing, caring person. That's one of my mantras. Sharing is caring. But you have to do the work. You have to know the work. But our job as either faculty or seasoned, experienced practitioners is to help them meet success. There's no need in Sharon and I sitting here saying, well, we know all the answers, but we don't share them. We have to help them with the information and experience we have to meet their measure of success.
And even then, Sharon, if I might, we don't have all the answers.
We
It's an
don't have
ongoing
all.
learning process. Yep.
And we work together to solve problems. Even if you have a patient with a clinical issue, you don't find the answer by yourself. It's a team. It's a group thing. And trying to solve any of the nursing problems, whether it's salary or your hours, one by one is the hardest thing you would ever try to do. But we want to make these things successful. So each of us has a different perspective or different experience. Let's put those nuggets together to solve some of these challenges that have been upon us for many, many, many years.
Yeah,
so we're looking for success for our new grads and our new nurses. Let's help them.
I didn't mean to interrupt you at all, Sharon. Those great points. You know, John has a great comment here. He says, what stresses me most is uncertainty. And I bet that's probably 99% of the world about work, health, and the future. What do you do with these people that internalize uncertainty?
Well, we would like to give each and every one of them an invitation. The organization that I founded and I'm running now, Power in Nursing, is a place, a safe place for nurses to talk about their challenges, their successes, or any questions we can share. What one brings, someone else is waiting for, even though it's probably sure that they're not the only one in the world that had to work one mandatory shift. They feel very threatened and very uncertain, but someone else is there to let them not hold that in and give them a certainty that we will not be sharing that personal information. It's just like HIPAA, you know, that same kind of idea. But we don't want them to keep those things in. And in a group setting doesn't mean there's, 1,000 people. It might be 5. We can talk about ways we've overcome certain challenges. And no one is left alone out there to solve their professional problem.
You know, what I heard you say, something Sharon and I talk about all the time, and I know Amy Edmondson talks about it a lot, and that's psychological safety. Yes. And unless people are feeling safe enough to share what stresses them the most people are not going to do that, right? And I heard you say that surround yourself with people that can help you navigate that. And for people who are sitting on the fence and feel like they just can't do it, what would you say to them?
I would ask them 2 things. In essence, I don't know them, but this is what I will share. I am available. But without that, I would ask them to find a confidant, a best friend, someone who loves them and cares about them, to let go of some of this. It's trauma. It's eating people up. And other people have said similar things that John has said. The stress is eating them up. And it doesn't mean that we have all the answers, like we said earlier, but let some of that garbage go. It's not good for you, physically or mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Don't keep that in. And anything that I could say to a lot of my colleagues is to find a health and mental health professional. It is not a bad thing.
We all need a sounding board, don't we?
You need to.
Great answer, Sharon. And back to you, Sharon. Sharon. Sharon wine too.
I think that, I wanted to ask you about the fact you have been a CNO. You have always advocated for your teams.
Yes.
One of the biggest issues that we hear about today, and a real concern, is not just psychological safety, but physical safety on a nursing unit.
Yes.
Nurses are really concerned about their
Yes.
safety and their ability to stay well,
Mhm.
to go to work, and be able to come home again. You know, you
Yes.
used to watch a lot of if you watched TV and you watched a lot of those police shows, one of the themes that resounded was the one about, well, my police officer, doesn't matter the gender, went to work, and I don't know if I'm going to see that individual again.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it has become our reality within the healthcare field.
Yes.
So it's no wonder that nurses are concerned about their safety as well. What would you say to nurses
Mhm.
today? What's your answer to workplace safety?
Well, this is my answer, and it again is about teamwork. And if you are not the CNO, you each and every nurse needs to have a relationship with their CNO or nurse leader that they can ask some of these questions. And another way to get more information is to join some of the organizations, whether it's internally in your organization, that are speaking about workplace violence for nurses or healthcare providers. And there are several. I don't know if there's one in every organization, but find out what's going on. And there has been some, you know, some work through Congress that is still stuck in whatever, stuck in committee, and it's not going anywhere. Those are the things we need to seek more information about and speak about. Do not hide behind the I don't know.
Right.
Because the day you need to know is yesterday. You need to know
Exactly.
what's
And
going.
with credit toward the American Nurses Association, right on top of it with their workplace safety program, the
Yes,
American Association of Critical Care Nurses, who basically wrote the book on the workplace environment and what it's all about and what it truly means. Certainly, the American Organization of Nurse Leaders and their chapters in each of the
yes,
states that address these issues align with people who share like interests and like values and who also are really worried about their careers and their futures.
that is true. And don't hide and say, "Oh, well, I'll do it next time or later."
Next time might
Today,
not come.
today is too late. You
You know,
need
I
to
think
find out.
one of the things that just struck me, right, is so if you are a nurse and you're either currently in your system or you are a new nurse looking at a new location or an old nurse looking in a new location,
There is no old nurse, Dina. Excuse me. It's called a
an
seasoned
older nurse,
professional, Dina. A seasoned professional.
Yes.
older experienced nurse.
Okay.
You need to have that question, right? So how do you want me to report bullying or workplace safety or unsafe feelings? You know, what is the process for that? How do we know that we're going to get supported? I don't really know if anybody's really asking that question during an interview even.
Hmm. Well, that's quite interesting, but it really, all of the challenges, questions, comments that nurses have on the job, they should be able to discuss with their leader. Whoever their leader, manager, supervisor, CNO, they need to be able to feel a safe place is with that person, and they can speak on whatever is going on with them without
Mhm.
feeling that there is going to be some repercussions
Judgment.
or some leakage, like this is the name dropper over here. So that goes back to the relationships with the nursing leaders, and the
Mhm.
nursing leaders just have to very definitely say that, put a poster up, talk to people. I know that some folks told me that during COVID, in this whichever experience they had, that their leader was asked not to come to their unit because they didn't want they didn't want to face the challenge of either being on the side of the nurses because the phone's ringing and we don't have a unit clerk, or the C-suite organizational group or team that says, well, we don't want you to get kind of mixed up in there because we need you to be over here doing this other thing. So nurses were really stressed. They had lots and lots to do, but they were so busy doing it that they didn't even have time to go to the CNO's office or to call and make an appointment. And so it just has been a big, I don't know if there's any particular group that can share an experience of how this worked so well for them, but somewhere there's got to be a better connection between the nurse leader at any level and the staff. The staff know what's going on and the realities of their stresses, where the nurse leader, we would like to have that person as the intercessor and share that information on the way up the ladder. So it's going to be a way down in the beginning at the bottom, nurses feeling comfortable talking to their leaders.
You know, I would love, you mentioned something really significant. It was, I don't know if there are organizations out there who would be willing to share how they managed the situation, how they rose back to the surface and allowed it to pass through and rise up. And with resilience, they truly have built a strong team. I would welcome, and so would Dina, the opportunity to hear from nurse leaders out there who have in fact met that challenge, who do have a success story to share, who want our viewers and others to know what it is they have done that sets them apart and allows them to shine. Because when they shine, their entire team shines with them, with a light brighter than any of us could possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
So I would hope that they would come forth and that they would be willing to share that information, that expertise, and that I've been there, I've done that, and here's what I found works. And by the way, here were my mistakes, and this is what I found does not work. How many people are willing to disclose that?
Brilliant.
That would be very, very interesting. So I can't wait to see that happen. And it would be so such a relief for the folks like John who are still there. And how do we promote retention in those spaces where in the last year, the 2021 graduates, 40% of them left their jobs in the first 1 year during the COVID pandemic. How do you save that? They went to school for 3 or 4 years or 2, or even if it was 5 minutes. They've learned a lot. They worked for a little while, but they were not satisfied in a number of ways. And the resources to make them successful were either not there or not applied.
You have to give people a reason to stay.
Stay, yes.
You know, and if there's no investment in their, like John said, you know, do they care about my uncertainty? Do they care about my stress level? Do they care about my mental health? Do they care about my family on the other side of this when I go home? You know, how much care is in healthcare, as somebody said in a prior interview. Well, it's truly true. You know, and I think if we can just, like you said, have somebody, anybody out there, you know, come and join us on these Tuesday, Thursday platforms and tell us, how did you overcome that? How were you able to overcome that most stressful time in the history of, you know, our time with the pandemic, and still rise above it and still come through on the other side saying, you know what, I still believe in nursing. I still want to stay. Why do you want to stay? What happened that you wanted to stay?
Right.
Well, we would love to hear that. And as well, I don't want to leave the CEO out of the solution. So we have to hear from those folks about what's going on. And we know that we've never seen a pandemic before, but if we are all in this together, then tell us we're all in this together, and this is what we are going to do moving forward.
Right, and act the part with everyone, assuming responsibility. You know, Anne Llewellyn was a guest of ours previously, and she has a unique situation in which she's actually listening to the individuals at the bedside, to those on the front lines
Mm,
who sometimes feel as if they do not have a voice. Dina and I hope that through the retreat that we're having, this exclusive healthcare women's retreat in Branson, Missouri, November 1st to the 4th, that we're able to bring together, and we already have probably a half or a third of those slots filled, bring together the best minds who are willing to share, who are willing to tell their stories, who are willing to show their vulnerabilities, and to really reach solutions and create from that a playbook
Yes.
that tells people what's next, because that's what everybody wants to know. What's up
yes.
next?
Right.
What will next look like?
This top down, because what's happening too is what I'm seeing is that if we can't take care of the leaders or the CEOs in those places for their own stress and their own mental health, things always roll downhill. And we're asking for a bottom up approach, but yet
And
somewhere in there we got to
Yeah.
meet in the middle, and it's just not quite there. I think we're missing some pieces.
so
think you're
that
right.
would, yeah, that would be interesting to hear from folks who've had success. One other thing that I think about is the doctors of nursing practice, and I am so excited to see so many of them here out in the world helping the clients who are in rural health areas where they don't have services. And I often think, well, what would happen if DNPs ran many of these organizations? They might have to do some little curriculum, because there's always a challenge with what the curriculum is. I say the same thing about nurses when we learn about tasks, but we don't learn how to communicate and foster relationships with our patients, customers, clients, whatever you want to call them. So, what things can we tweak for these doctorally prepared persons who have much knowledge about the healthcare system? How can we, what if they opened up their own practice? I don't know. I just think these things that people are like, oh gosh, you're really far out there. Well, I'm looking at the future of nursing, the future of nursing. So, what can we provide for the system wide coverage for folks who are either in the hospital, those are patients? What about those who aren't in the hospital? They're in the community, but they're not being cared for. They don't have service. They don't even know that their primary care provider passed away in 2021 because they're not going to the doctor. No one's telling them anything. They think, what did somebody said, a vaccine would make you a zombie. How do we get to serve those people? DNPs and nurse practitioners are going out into the communities. How can we get more nurses to do those things as well? Public health is important.
That's a discussion and a question for another 4.5 hours, which unfortunately we do not have because we've already come to a close of our 30 minutes or so. So it is in fact time for a close and an invitation to join us again on the listening tour. Welcome another one of your peers to the program. And if you'd like to participate, please reach out to us. We do, as I said, have a retreat coming up November 1st to the 4th in Branson, Missouri. We're excited about it. We're excited to welcome each of you. We want to give you the opportunity to take advantage of a brand new offering, and I'll show it right now. We now have a buddy system for the retreat. So if you want to join the retreat, but you're hesitant to go it alone, you'd like a buddy to accompany you, there is safety in numbers. This is your chance to take advantage of the buddy system and partner with someone else, save a couple of $100 and join us. Join us with your peer. For now, though, Sharon, Herbert, we really want to take this opportunity to thank you for being with us today. You have opened lots of doors. You have not only responded to, but asked lots of questions that make us wonder what, in fact, is next. So I look forward to seeing more comments on the stream, to sharing this link with you so that you can then share it with your network, and then to welcoming you back at any time. Thank you so much. I hope that you'll join the retreat as well.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
don't
you.
forget, let's do this together, nurses. Let's do this together. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
We certainly can.